I've been called worse.
All right, good. We're going.
Good morning. Today is April 12th, 2019. Welcome to DrydenWire Live, a live streaming video podcast presented by DrydenWire.com. My name is Martha Careful, and as always, I'm joined by my benevolent, contrasuggestible, and epistemic. What the heck is that?
Which one? Epistomophilic.
Oh, thank you.
It means excessive love of knowledge.
I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah.
Son Ben. Give me a heads up on some of this stuff. Right? This morning we are being joined in studio by a very special guest, Shell Lake School District Superintendent David Bridenhagen. If it's Friday, it's DrydenWire Live. And welcome, David.
Thank you. It's great being here.
Thanks for coming in. I'm surprised school wasn't delayed or canceled again today. How many days was Shell Lake have cancellations or half days this year?
We had six full days off. 3 of those were snow, 3 were cold days.
Yep.
And then we had 3 late starts. So it's been a challenge.
So how are you making up that? I mean, do you have to make up any of that now? And are you extending the school day, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we it used to be where you had to have a certain number of days.
Right.
And then several years ago that switched over to instructional minutes. So we've been our calendar, we're fortunate that we build in quite a few extra instructional minutes, which allows us to take more field trips, things like that. And also with being more rural, we miss there's a number of events after school where our track kids have to leave early and things like that.
Sure.
So we've got enough padding minute wise, but we usually build in, normal is probably 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been kind of a challenge.
So school's going to be going till July 28th?
No, it's actually going to. We've still got our same June 6th day as our last day.
So you didn't have to extend the days. You're just moving your minutes around a little bit.
Right, and actually we haven't even had to move minutes because we had enough minutes in there.
Nice.
The other thing we're up against is we have our construction project from our referendum. So they're literally going to be. It's going to be a job site. They're planning on bringing in precast panels, and we're trying to get that done as quickly as possible.
Okay.
So extending the year out isn't really even an option.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
What didn't the governor? Wasn't there? Was it Governor Evers that was going to allow some districts that were really over the board, like 12, 14 days they were off? Wasn't there something recently that the governor was changing something, or I don't remember the conversation, but I remember hearing it. But I don't know what he did.
There was talk about it, hoping that when he declared a state of emergency for the cold days, that he might forgive those days. But that never came to fruition. They did in Minnesota, but they didn't in Wisconsin.
Maybe it was Minnesota that I was thinking about then. Maybe that because they really got hit hard out there.
Yeah.
And then I suppose then if you're not doing now, does everybody have to do the minutes in Wisconsin, or is it days?
It's everybody with minutes.
Okay. When did that change?
Don't quote me on it. Maybe 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And then we did make up some minutes. Excuse me. We had one day that was going to be a professional learning day back in March. We had kids come in that day. So, when we miss a day of school, it's 409 instructional minutes for the high school. And I think it's 386 for the elementary. So it doesn't take long before those minutes add up.
Oh,
sure.
So talk about you just mentioned the building project with the referendum.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the update on that?
The update's cool. We're having groundbreaking a week from Monday.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be April 22nd. And that'll be at 11 o'clock. And anyone's invited to come out and see that. And actually, that same day, we should have some machinery out there to start moving dirt around and putting in footings. So it's right around the corner. We're kind of waiting for the weight band restrictions to be lifted on the roads because quite a bit of fill has to come in,
Sure.
Especially down on the south end of the building where the elementary wing is going. So
that's right. That's a low area, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Everybody got their painted gold shovels in order, and the school
They're
board
supposed
president.
to be they're supposed to be bringing them. And we have one old shovel from '93, and it doesn't have a spade bit to it. So I'm thinking I need all the help I can get.
It's just a handle.
Yeah, it's just a handle. Yeah,
you got to get Tim home to find yourself a couple of old ones and grind them up and paint them up real quick for you.
That's right. That's right.
And of course, you got to have a pile of dirt there. You got to have a pile of dirt so everybody can throw it. So.
Yeah, and at this rate, they might have to bring dirt in because the ground. Hopefully we'll see it at that point.
For people who don't know, walk us through what that referendum was about.
Well, the referendum, it started probably conversations maybe 2-3 years ago. We were looking at what our overall facility needs were. And one of our big needs was our existing primary school, which is pre-kindergarten through second grade. It's an older building built back in the 50s, which I think I was born in the 50s, so it's not that old. But
just to be clear, that's not old.
But I could use some parts replaced too. But there were a lot of capital improvements that need to be done. And after the numbers are put together, it made more sense to build a new wing on. And there's some things that we can do better by having everyone on one campus as well. Sure. So that was really how things came about. And we've always been very short on gym space. We currently rent the gym at the Art Center. And that's worked out all right. But because of distances, there's a lot of doubleheader games, especially in basketball. So you'll have the JV team playing at the Art Center. The varsity will be at our 312 site. And a lot of those players are cross players, so you're trying to
shuttle them.
Yeah, you're trying to shuttle them, and it gets kind of crazy, and it's hard for the fans.
Even though that's not that far, the transportation costs alone, that's got to be a savings alone, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Go to one school instead of, okay, load up here, then go to that school and unload. And I mean, it mightn't be a lot of money, but when you put those big diesel engines and have them idling and running in certain areas and then drive to another facility, that's got to save something.
It does. And, I think... it'll just be more cost effective when we have our games there. We have to have double the number of staff for supervising, and we're paying a rental fee to the art center and things like that. So having everything in one campus will be nice. And we'll be building a performance gym area. So it'll be a stage associated with it as well. And the bleachers, rather than just being your standard straight bleachers, will be more of a stadium or a chair style bleacher.
Ooh, like movie theaters.
Yeah.
No kidding?
They won't recline and massage or anything, but it'll be a lot nicer than sitting on bleachers.
I didn't know that was a part of it, actually.
Yeah. So it'll be nice, and that'll be ready to go for, we're hoping, next summer.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's that facility. Anything else being done?
Yeah, we are redoing our tech ed and art area. We're going to be making it much more bright in there, more user-friendly. The art room is very small, so that'll be switched around some, a new kiln room. Other remodeling will be doing our 7th grade science area and the agriculture room. Mm-hmm. We're actually making 3 rooms into 2, so the 2 will be larger rooms.
This is like an episode of Property Brothers, and my wife, when she watches this tonight, she'll thank me for even just bringing that up. She loves that show. But it's always, every answer when they go into these rooms is, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to knock down this wall and just make this an open room. Yeah. So it sounds like what you're doing. We're just going to knock some of these walls down and just make it a little bit bigger, but it sounds like that's what you need.
It is, and pretty significant change with our special education room, too. We want to have a life skills area in there.
What's life skills?
It would be just for some of our students with special needs, so that we're able to work with them on how to do laundry, how to cook a meal.
I should go to that.
Can
I sign up for some of those things?
Yeah. So there will be a small kitchen in there, and then a special handicapped restroom as well that'll have some devices that make it easier to work with the kids that way. So
how about in your life skills class? Do they talk about how to make your own checking account and do they do all that too? Don't they?
Yeah.
Seriously, I need to go to that.
Yeah.
Hey, we skipped over something though. Tell us a little about you.
Okay.
We missed that. I kind of wanted to hear your background a little bit. Yeah. How you got here? Where'd you come from?
Okay, then we're getting back to the school and the referendum stuff.
Well, we'll get back to the referendum.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
We'll circle back. I got a question on that too. So
okay. Well, I was spent most of my teaching career, actually all my teaching career, in Green Bay. That was for 25 years, and during that time, I was a music teacher. I was a middle school and elementary music teacher. And that I taught band was my primary specialty, so I did that for many years. And then I was a associate principal at 2 of our different middle schools, and then I was an elementary principal for about 12 years. And then I came up here, so this is my 4th year already up here.
So what instruments do you play?
I can play them all. I mean, my main instrument is trumpet.
Trumpet. Okay.
So yeah, anything that you blow through, I can do pretty well on. Yeah. Except bagpipes. That's not going to happen.
That's a little harder.
Yeah.
Well, that is cool. So then you came up, you applied for this position, you got it, and moved up here somewhere, I'm assuming. And
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we
All
moved up here, and it just took some getting used to. It's nicer now. When I first moved up here, my son was a senior in high school, so we let him finish out his year down there. So I was back to being a bachelor for a year or so, which was interesting. I got used to. I could have used the life skills. Yeah.
I suppose from Green Bay, then you're a Bears fan, I'm assuming.
Oh my goodness, no, yeah. No.
I get it now.
Yeah, no. And actually, I was born in Illinois, but we've always been Packer fans. My parents are from Green Bay. Yeah, too bad.
Well, it's we're kind of a Bear group here, So,
oh boy, I should have.
My favorite team is the Bears, and unless the Bears aren't playing and the Packers are playing, then my favorite team's the Packers. So.
Okay, well, I can't even go there.
Nah.
But,
Okay, thank you for that. So back to the. Is there any in the 312? How many years has that been there now? 312. When did they build that?
It was built
I remember
in
the referendum.
93.
93.
Yeah.
Is there any significant heating and ventilating systems that need to be worked on in the 312 current building, or are you doing anything with that, or for savings of fuel or anything like that?
We've done some savings over the past.
Over the years,
I'd say most of the savings have been more with the lighting. At one point we had the old, I don't know what they're called, T somethings, but they were heavier use at bulbs, and then they switched to a smaller bulb that was more energy efficient, and now everything's switching over to LED.
Right.
So we're able to replace just your normal, 4-foot tube with an LED tube. Heating wise, we do have a boiler that's powered by wood pellets that we use as auxiliary use over the winter time. But really, the HVAC system isn't too bad. The big thing we'll see with the new building is they use what they call displacement ventilation. It just moves a lot more air, and that's kind of the new in thing.
Move more for less.
Yeah.
More efficient, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember actually I was one of the first grades in that new building because Dad was the custodian.
That was in 93. I was sheriff in 91, so I was gone 2 years prior to that.
Right.
But they were still in the old modular when they kicked them out of high school, and they were in the modular.
Because we went through a referendum when I was growing up too, because that was the old school was falling apart. I mean, you'd be at like the second floor, and against the wall there's like a 3-inch gap, and we'd just throw things down to the classes below us. That went to referendum many times, and it was a no.
Yeah, we had to actually move furniture around so they couldn't get all the kids to one side of the room because they're afraid the floor is going to collapse.
But at the same time, it's awesome because even the teachers, it was just a free for all.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then they brought it. So finally, after the everyone said no to the referendums multiple times, I think it came up. Finally, the state came in and just said, "Okay, we're condemning your school."
Yeah.
So then we went to school for 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year in trailers.
Yeah.
And that was just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, there was no accountability whatsoever. It wasn't the school's fault, right? I mean, they did the best they could. Right. And then it was a shock when we went to the new school because, it's brand new.
Closed campus.
Right. You can't chew gum. You couldn't bring in a soda. You can't win hats. It was the worst.
We've lightened up a little bit.
But it's just interesting that in just that short amount of time, because that is a relatively short amount of time, that we need to make some upgrades already. Right. And last week we had your arch nemesis, the Spooner superintendent out.
Oh, Dr. Aslin.
Yeah. He's the worst.
Boy, I'll tell you something. Yeah. No, sorry, David.
He's okay.
We get on the phone a lot, especially on weather days.
I suppose. But he was talking about that it doesn't take that long with that much traffic.
Yeah.
For these schools, we need some updates.
Yeah, and actually for us, some of it was updates. It was just design changes that, 25 years ago, a lot of times with special education, you didn't teach, you didn't teach life skills. And STEM didn't exist with science, technology, engineering, and math. So that was different. Our enrollment's gone up. We're fortunate because, a lot of rural areas, enrollment's dropping down. Ours has stayed very steady. It's gone up a little bit. So it's been a big plus. But there's just different things that change. Now most schools have group learning areas, small group learning areas. Before you just didn't have it. And technology is probably the biggest thing. Back in 93, very little computer infrastructure. So to try to get those pieces in, our current rooms have 1 data drop in. The new rooms will have 6 data drops in.
Whoa.
So, way different.
That was the first time I actually saw or got to use a computer, was that new school.
Okay.
And that was when AOL was a thing. And that was like the coolest thing. And someone who was in that tech room, actually, that I don't remember the name of the teacher. I don't know if he's still there.
By Mr. Forsyth.
No. I don't remember who it was. But and we were playing on that, and it was like, so what's the internet?
Yeah.
And what is this?
Yeah.
And there were so many computers. I think at the time it was almost more computers than students that we had.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But is that part of the update, or has all those computers and all that technology been updated previously?
It's really been pretty much updated. We're outside of the referendum. We are changing our wireless system. It's better. It's less expensive for us to upgrade the wireless than it is to try to drop wires down into rooms. So we'll be doing that. We're changing our firewalls around, just making it more user friendly. It's always a battle because you try to put up enough filters so that kids can't get to places they're not supposed to, but it also prevents them from getting to places that they need to. Yeah. So
you just did some. The library got some work on it here. Wow, is that Shell Lake Library, your high school library?
No, that was, and actually our library will be getting some remodeling done to accommodate the other grades.
I heard all this, and
the city library got
remodeled.
Mm-hmm.
That's I knew there was something I could remember. It was a school. Okay, so what about the old primary or the old elementary? The old primary?
What's going to happen?
What do you think you guys are going to do with that thing?
Well, we're going to have a gentleman come out and give us an evaluation of it, actually within the next couple of weeks. And, I would love to see that. I think it's a gorgeous site.
It is
I'd love to see it used to put up some housing development. I mean, in Shell Lake, there's just not many places to live. And that would be great from my perspective. And I would hope with the Washburn County building coming in and things like that, I know there's a need for it. We're always having people.
Is there anything on the table or any options where you would keep that building?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
For us, there would be too much to do to it. So I don't think it could really be used as a teaching building anymore. The building, it's not. If someone bought it and used it as an apartment or something, you could do it, but it's really not set up because you don't have the. You don't have the plumbing facilities and things like that.
I suspect the costs to remodel that to make it into whatever apartments or whatever would be pretty high.
Yeah, it was going to cost us about $8 million just to do the renovations that we needed. It needs the windows replacing, and the HVAC system is that much older and things like that. We talk about internet. The way the ceiling is there's no drop ceiling, so all of our wires come across the top of the room. I mean, it's aesthetic, but it still makes a difference, and the projectors are low that you have to duck a little bit.
I'd love to live in that place. I've always wanted to live in a school. I don't know why. I just think it would be the coolest thing in the world. So I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and you can see the airport, and
it's a great location.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, you're interested. See me.
I'm not kidding. I would love to live in a place like that. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
So it's potentially possible that some investor would want to buy it or tear it down and put some buildings, some homes or something up there.
Yeah, that even as a daycare facility, it could work as something like that.
Yeah,
we know that daycare is a big need up here too. So, but and there's I think it's 11, 12 acres of property there too. So,
and right in town.
I used to mow it. I know how much.
Yeah.
So you were talking about that the enrollment has been steady or a slight increase. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's just a real attractive place to be. It's we've had some hits with the Bosch company closing its plant here and some different things, but it's just a good place to be. People want to live in this area, and we're finding more and more people from the area who might have they got out of school, they moved away a little bit, and it's like, oh, okay, this isn't all it was cracked up to be, and they come back here, which is great.
Yeah.
So
how about staffing? You have a hard time getting qualified applicants for teachers or any staff members, or you guys full up now?
We're doing pretty well statewide. Actually, nationally, it's tough
Pretty
to find
hard.
teachers
Yeah,
anymore.
Yeah.
I think just rural schools in general have their challenges. I guess I look at things different if I'm 25 years old than if I'm 55 years old. But it's been encouraging because we've hired a couple years ago. Well, it was probably more like 3-4 years ago. We hired 2 young teachers who had just gotten married. So, they've got their roots down in that. In education, it's tough sometimes because, people want to go back and get their master's degrees. A lot of people will do it online. But if you want to do it in person, we have one gentleman, been a great math teacher for us. He's resigning because he's going to Madison for his master's. So it's great for him. He's staying in education. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Rural broadband.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, what is your broadband situation at the school?
Oh boy!
Yeah.
Well, it was probably.
You want to call somebody about that?
Yeah, I might have to. Well, it's about a year ago that they brought in the fiber optic, so I think we're running at 100 gig, which is nice. And then it's all good news and bad news. Part of it is that we've got some Cat 6 wiring and some Cat 5. 3 months ago, I probably couldn't have told you what the difference was. Don't ask me to explain the two other than 6 is, more is always better. So Cat 6 is better. But yeah, we've got that, which has helped. But, rural broadband in general, we struggle with that one because we've got one-to-one computers for our high school students. And we always struggle with, okay, so you've got the computer, you go home to do work. Do you have coverage?
Right.
And not everyone does have coverage. It's a matter of not having coverage or not having internet service. And one of the things that's been kind of a big deal is a number of manufacturers are making like mobile hotspots, which works, but that's based on having a cell signal. So I know for me, if I'm driving out on County D, there's some spots where all of a sudden you just hit a dead zone.
Yep.
So if you're there, it's tough. So we're trying to do as much as we can within the school day.
If there were rural broadband, if you knew everyone went home, and I believe broadband is, I think it's 25 down and 3 up, I think is technically the threshold to be considered broadband. At least that was last year anyway. I don't know if it went up since. If everyone did, every student you knew had broadband at home, what impacts would that have on the education system at Shell Lake?
Quite honestly, I don't know that it would make a huge difference. There's more and more research saying that really homework isn't that effective, depending on what grade you're talking about.
I told you. I told him that when I was a kid.
But that's now. That wasn't the time at that.
Good Lord.
But I think it's one of those things where, we're trying to get as much done as we can during the school day, where you've got that assistance. It's always tough when you explain something and someone goes off and does it, and they learn it the wrong way, and then you're trying to regroup it. And, the world's changed a little bit now, too, that some of the kids aren't getting home. We have an after-school program. Some of the kids aren't getting home till, 6:30. We're trying to provide opportunities for them to work on their homework after that. We have a structured time in both of our elementary and our high school where kids have Laker time to get their work done. So we're trying to do that more. So the broadband, I think it would, if you had that across the board, I think for some kids it would help, but I don't see it wouldn't be like, wow, this is going to just be earth changing. It would be nice, but I don't know that's going to make a huge difference.
Sure. In the referendum, was school safety a part of that?
Yes.
And I'm sure there's some of that stuff you probably don't want to get into in the sense of, we don't want to tell everyone what our procedure, but what upgrades are going to be done to the school?
Yeah, in a nutshell, probably the biggest one is our entrances will change. Right now, it's tough up here too because you don't want people standing outside freezing to death.
No.
Ideally, right.
What you really want to do is have an access view, so when you're buzzing someone in, the outdoor would still be locked, but you buzz them in, they're coming into an office area. So I'm having face-to-face contact with you versus looking over a small screen.
Oh, sure.
And, that'll probably be the biggest change right there. There's different things that, schools have done with a number of different things, security films and the way they lock their doors and things like that. But I think the entrances will probably be the best. It'll provide additional security. I think it'll also be nicer for the community when they come to see someone right now, they're let in, and if you're not sure where the high school office is, you're going to be a little lost. So they'll see a real person and be able to work through that.
I go, at least now in the 312 current place, you go in, and it's at least you're undercover.
Right.
I mean, and you stand in front of we always put the little footprints down, and you look into the cameras so they can see who you are.
Right.
That's better than what it used to be. But
Right.
I see your point. Cold. So, and then when somebody new comes in there, okay, now where do I go?
Exactly. And quite honestly, I mean, there's nothing like face-to-face viewing. So, if we want to provide the best security we can for our students and staff, and if a person comes in, it gives us a little more opportunity to interact with them, to know who they are. And it also is a way to shut them off, that if there is a danger, we can shut them off from the rest of the school, which is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys must do training for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Work with I'm assuming, sheriff's office or
Shell Lake
Police. So
Yeah,
Dave
Shell Lake
Wilson.
PD. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure that we have plans in place. Do you feel that
School safety plans, they all have them.
Sure. Do you feel that you everyone has a good understanding of what this is? Has there been enough training? Where, boy, I'd really like to kind of see a little bit more.
I think it's one of those things you want ongoing training. If you just do it, once a year, you kind of forget what you're doing.
Sure.
And the struggle we'll have right now is during the construction process, some of the exits we used to be able to use, you won't be able to use. So now those will all make a difference too. Even for a fire drill, we won't be able to. Yeah. So we're making modifications. Typically, after we do a drill, we'll regroup as a staff and say, okay, what went well, what didn't go well. We were supposed to have had the statewide tornado drill yesterday.
Oh, that's right. It's today.
So something like that too. We do it, and we debrief on it and say, wow, I had a problem with my class because we were just something you weren't planning on. We were in the art room, and it was a large class. There wasn't enough places to go. Then we'll relook at something like that and say, okay, let's move them over here.
Mm-hmm.
So that would just be an example, but usually it's just something going by, and as more research is done on school security and safety, you make some changes. We did get the safety and security grant last year.
Just going to ask about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that'll be, it's increasing our cameras. Some of our cameras we have a combination of digital and analog cameras, so they're all switching over to digital.
You still have VCRs and
we don't have
tape every day.
Yeah, no, we don't have those. But even with with everything being digital now, we can supply those feeds to the police department, to the dispatcher, to the sheriff's department. Those are all huge things.
Sure.
So,
what kind of negative feedback or blowback did you get with this referendum? And if so, what was that feedback?
Really, it's been extremely positive. I think that if anything, it was, we wish we could have done everything.
Sure.
And, the bottom line is when we first did our survey, the things that people wanted to see done amounted to about $22 million. And what the community felt they could support was $16 million, which is still just phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
But, there's just different things. So like going forward, we were hoping to be able to redo our track. Track is old. It's cracked. We've got a very good track team.
Stop running on it.
Yeah, stop running on it. If the weather would just cooperate. Yeah. But, most of them are going to like a synthetic surface. So we were looking at that. And
probably not cheap.
No, it's like $450,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
Cheap.
it's things like that we can't do now. Is there a need to do something? Yeah, there is. It just can't happen right now.
Yeah.
So it was really some of those things, and it would be, I don't know if you ever have enough money. You're building your house and say this would be great, and it's like, well, we don't have money for that.
Cut it somewhere. But so the track was a part of it, but the 22 to 16, so that's $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
What else was in that $6 million that you wish you could have gotten?
Well, we compromised. We had a weight room that was going to extend off behind the performance area. And that was originally going to be a weight room with changing rooms and restrooms. And that cost came in too high, but we felt because we were building what we were doing, we wanted to at least get the structure in place so that we're not having to, it was more cost effective to get those panels in and build it now, but we're going to wait on the changing rooms and the restrooms. So there were some compromises there. Sometimes, we sharpened our pencils and, once building costs came in, it was unfortunate because no more the referendum passed and the tariffs came into play. So
that has a big impact.
Yeah,
we talked about that last week.
Yeah, that affected us. And
Sure.
even if you're only talking a couple percent, well, a couple percent of $16 million is a lot of money.
A lot of money.
It's a decent amount.
Yeah.
So we just stuff like that, and it would be nice to put all new furniture in the elementary school, but the furniture we have is fine. So we'll be doing that and upgrade as we need to. But those are probably some of the bigger things.
We have a question from Diane Dryden.
Okay.
Who's that?
She asks, what's the target date for being in the new school?
Okay, well, the remodeling we're going to start this summer. So the remodeled rooms we need to be in by next fall. We're planning on moving our pre-K 2 kids. The project should be done next May. And then we're planning on starting the fall of 2020 with everybody on one campus. And there will be some remodeling next summer as well. We're remodeling the office spaces, but that won't happen this summer. That'll happen next summer.
So you're talking a minimum 2-year project.
Well,
almost
it's
2 years.
Probably more like a year and a half.
Okay, a year and a half.
So what's the school going to look like this fall when they go back to school?
Well, I think actually by the fall you're going to see it's going to look pretty nice because all those precast panels will be in. Those will go up pretty quick. When we built this school now in '93, everything was done using cinder blocks, and you're placing the blocks down. Now you'll be getting these big panels in place, so they'll go up relatively quick. So by the time fall hits, you'll see the footprint of what we're talking about. And probably the most between the just the physical size being different, you'll also notice a big difference to that front entrance area because it'll have an overhang canopy coming out to it. That gym will be extended out almost as far as where the parking lot is.
Oh my!
And then we'll be having a new parking lot put in also, which if you've driven by our parking lot lately, it gets to be a little
packed.
bit of a well, and
it's
in pretty rough shape. Yeah.
Last time I was there, I went from the school to the parking lot right to the mechanic.
Yeah, that would be about it. Yeah. You don't leave home without your tire chain.
So what kind of interruptions are you going to have in this coming school year in September? What kind of interruptions are the construction folks going to have on your?
Yeah, we're trying to eliminate anything we can. Our message right now that we're trying to get out is that this summer it's going to be an active construction site. We're not having any classes on campus. We're not having any inner services on campus because those concrete panels, if you look out the front of school, we have a small sample panel, and I think that was 3,500 pounds. They're using 30-ton cranes to put these things in place. So these are big panels. We just don't want cars around. We don't want kids around.
That just sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
We don't want any kids at the school.
Not when that's around. But, and they'll actually start bringing those panels in and putting them up, but it'll be away from the kids. That'll be the last week of school, so that'll start on June 2nd. The other piece that'll be different is as soon as they put the fencing up, which will be, I think that's supposed to actually come up next week, we'll lose our playground for the 312. So that whole entrance will be changed. So now they'll have to play in the back. So, we purchased a lot of balls and hula hoops and things that are non-structural that, get some cans for kick the can and stuff.
You have, did you get a big change in the school board election this last spring?
No, we had 3 spots open.
Yep.
One of our long-term members will be dearly missed was Stuart Olson.
Stu has been around a long time. He's done really, really well for the school board. He was president for how many years?
He's been
a lot of years.
He's been president since I've been here, and he's held a lot of different offices. We were fortunate that
pretty solid.
And he represented us at the state as well because he was the president of the State School Board Association.
Yeah. Wow.
So we're gonna miss him a lot.
I bet.
So his seat was open, and we had 3 openings. We had 3 people come in. 2 were incumbents. We have Scott Smith was one, and Jill Dunlevy, and then Matt Sishelski will be our new board member.
Nice.
Okay, so they haven't voted on the president then yet, or not?
No, what we do is, our April board meeting is on Monday, and we'll swear them into office. And then they don't officially take office until the 22nd. So we'll...
You have a lame duck session?
Yeah. So,
Wait a minute. Everything you do now may not be any good.
Yeah, no, we're good. But we'll, they'll take office, and then normally they'll have conversations. Say these are what the different committees are, and they'll decide at that point. But you want to try and have as much consistency as you can. You just get a lot more done that way.
In your previous jobs, compare this board or the board that you've had to some of those boards.
Well, in Green Bay, it was such a large district. The board was about the same size board, but as a principal, we didn't go to many of the board meetings unless you had an actual presentation to do. The board meetings were more, I don't know, because you had about 40 schools, there was always something going on. So, a little more contentious, but, I think the good news is you just try to get a board that, shares the same vision, is on the same page, and, moving forward with it.
Do you think because you were a principal, that's helped you as a superintendent?
Oh, absolutely.
In what ways?
Because you're able to put yourselves in their feet, in their shoes. And especially, I've taught at the high school level a little bit, but most of my career was elementary and middle school. So I get when we're talking literacy and we're talking about timetables and things like that, it helps a huge amount. And being a principal too, it's just different things. So I think having been there, done that, it just helps understand the position. You can tweak a little bit here and there, but yeah, it helps tremendously.
And how are your principals in Shellick?
They're great.
Huh?
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite? I asked Dave that
you're really
last
going to
week.
get me in trouble. Yeah. Did he answer?
Nope. He did.
Oh.
I'm not going to tell you until you answer. He said he liked them all equally.
Yeah.
Which is so lame.
No, and it's interesting because, the job of a 712 principal is drastically different than the job of a pre-K 6 principal.
How so?
Well, the 712 principal is going to have a lot more going on with different athletic events, overnight trips and that. I think behavioral things too. You've got kids driving. That's a whole nother thing. You've got kids dating.
Yeah.
It's just different. But they are real different from each other. Elementary principal, you've got kids coming in. You're trying to instill that love of learning to them and get things working there. And you've got a few more meltdowns with kids who are having little tantrums and things like that. So, yeah, they're just different.
I still have those. So.
Well, I think we all do.
Yeah. So of this last year, what went well and what maybe didn't go so well?
I think really what went well was the whole planning process. I keep saying referendum, but I mean, that's been a really big time taker. Yeah. It's gone well. I mean, at one point we were over budget. We were able to get into a project that I think really gets everything done we wanted to get done and keeps it within budget. That's gone well. We're academically, what's going well is we're moving in the right direction. Our math scores are increasing. Our reading scores are increasing. Not as fast. Nothing ever happens as quick as you want it to. But we're moving in the right direction there. We switched to a trimester this year. That seemed to work well. What it did to us is, or did for us, it extended our class periods out. So teachers are able to cover more content. And then we talked about that homework piece to it. The kids are able to spend more time with their teacher and get those things worked out. So
that's why is that the biggest benefit for tri-semester?
For us, it's been, yeah. And we talked to a lot of different districts before we made that move. So we had, we went to a shorter, fewer periods in the day, so the kids have a little less to worry about there. But the other piece is at the 712 level, if you were taking algebra, for example, it's a 2-semester class or two trimester class. If I really struggled first trimester in the past, I'd really struggle second trimester too, because I missed so much content. Now the way we're structured, if I struggle first trimester, I can retake that second trimester and then take it third trimester. So I can still get that class in, but it's not going to be just miserable because I missed too much content.
You'd have to give me 6 trimesters to get through algebra.
Yeah, I don't think about it. I think that was the only class that I think I got an F in. I don't even think I ever passed algebra.
I
I don't think at the time you had to, because I did other classes, like applied math.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was easy because we played cards, and I didn't even know how to play cards. But I'm like, this is a lot easier than algebra.
Yeah, no, it's worked well. I mean, we've seen fewer failures in our classes, so that's been a good thing. For the younger kids, probably doesn't make as big a difference because their year is more continuous. They're seeing the same teacher, so that wasn't as big a challenge that way. But that part's been going well. And like I said, this is our first year doing it. We've made some tweaks in it. With our music program, which has always been very strong in Shell Lake, we had to put that first period in the day, and then we had to slide it up a little bit. So we're making some tweaks to that. That was one that we just revisited, and it created some challenges. So
now, superintendents it seems as though they're constantly moving around.
Yeah.
It's like every 3 years, it seems to be that shelf life.
Yeah.
Before the superintendent goes somewhere else, and not necessarily for bad reasons. Or it is what it is, right? You've been 4 or 5 years.
This is my 4th year.
Your 4th year.
So when you're leaving,
any plans on leaving?
No. I love it here. Yeah. I think there's so many reasons why people change and move and things like that. A lot of times a board will change, and the board that hired you had one vision, and then the board that changed has a different vision. I suppose some superintendents too, they want to keep moving. There's a lot of different things. I think the thing is you're the face of the district, and you have to make a lot of tough decisions, and hopefully the decisions have been communicated well, and you're moving forward with it. I think, when we're talking superintendents or school board members or teachers, anytime you can get that stability is a big plus, because otherwise you're just about the time you get to where you want to be, you reset the clock. Right. And like I said, it happens with everybody, even with kids. Yeah. The more transient they get, you've been to 5-6 different schools in your school career, it's going to be hard having you be where you want to. So to have that stability, I think, is huge.
This is fitting because of the weather that we're having yesterday and today. You did a DrydenWire Live. Actually, that was when Matt and I were doing it last year.
Okay.
And you were talking about when it's time to make the decision to cancel school. And you were talking about students messaging you. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
I don't think Dad was around.
Send him a message?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten that in a while. I got one. It was a text message, and it says, "How do you expect me to get out of my driveway?" And it shows this girl standing by her car, and she's got snow all piled up behind it. It's like, I don't know, where do you live? I'll take you home. So those are kind of funny.
They must all love you when you cancel school for the day.
Yeah, and I think at this point, they've kind of lost the novelty of the school days. But I'll have kids lobbying me if there's snow expected on Friday. By Monday, well, Mr. Bridenhagen, do you think we're gonna have school? Don't plan a binge watching yet.
They should have superintendents run for the office.
Yeah.
And then since you're in the position of superintendent, right before you start giving tons of school days.
Yeah.
So that's how you get a lot of support.
That would work. Oh,
except for the parents.
I was going to say, you've got all these different support pockets. Yeah.
Okay. And now,
how was your truancy this last year? Is your truancy doing better, or is it staying pretty consistent?
I'd say it's doing better. I mean, I think with the truancy, we always look at, why is a student truant?
Correct.
And if they're truant, we're not doing something as a school. We want to try to get kids engaged and have school be something they want to come to. Luckily, our graduation rates, our attendance rates have been very high when you compare them throughout the state. I'd say it's gotten better, but it's not terrible. But even if you have one truant student, it's an issue. But
so, at what point do you start? Calling Shell Lake PD or somebody to write the truancy citation to go to see the judge? You try to work with the parents prior to that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming you do.
Yeah.
Most school districts will.
Right.
And that truancy paper is usually the last straw. I mean, we can't get through to this family. We need these kids in school.
Exactly. Yeah, you're trying to do something to get them off the fence, because the longer they're out of school, the less engaged they get. And then, then they get out of school, they may not graduate, they're credit deficient. So, usually it's about a 10-day window in there, and it depends how those days are spread out. We generate reports every month, and we'll look at those. And if it looks like, Ben's been missing every Friday,
Yeah, something wrong.
it's like, oh, there's a little bit of a pattern here, or Fridays and Mondays, and, different things like that. In some cases, there's more to it than that too. You might be absent because of health reasons. Well, then we'll screen those out. But if it's just something, I don't want to come to school, I don't want to get up, then we'll get the police involved. But even there too, we try to start that out with a conference and say, hey, this is what we got to get going. So luckily we don't have to go that direction very often. We have many parents who will actually bring their child in and say, I'm bringing them in. But then it's our job to make sure when they come in to find out what the problem is and kind of work from there.
You have to kind of be parents too at the same time sometimes. Yeah. Parenting skills are not what they used to be, I don't think.
Well, I think everybody's trying their hardest, and it's just hard. They're spending a ton of time with us, and if I'm going to work in the morning and my son doesn't get on the bus in the morning, I got to figure that one out a little bit. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I want to get to car talk in a minute here, and that's how we'll wrap it up. But first, the proposals that Governor Evers has made, if those things came to fruition, how would that affect the Shellick School District?
Well, probably the biggest thing is, the per pupil student increases. He's proposing $200 in 204 again, which was in the last biennial budget. Those help, but it's $200 per student. It's based on, it's kind of crazy. It's not based on the number of kids you actually have in your building. It's based on resident students, and it gets a little crazy. But, for us, it would be about $120,000 a year. So those things help.
More?
Sure.
Yes.
Or, really?
Yeah. But, along with that, just like our home heating costs go up and things, our operating costs go up too. So it's a lot of money, but it can be absorbed pretty quick. Sure. Special education will make a difference, depending on how that goes. I think one of the big things is, when they're looking at the tax relief or the funding, where's that funding going to go? Because we've seen it before too, where the good news is you're getting more money from the state, but they don't change your revenue limits, so you still have the same amount of money to work with. It just depends where you're getting the money from.
Okay, so it's not an additional.
Right.
I see.
Right, and that's where it gets where it gets a little crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've hit my limit of understanding this. I think if you keep talking about this, I'm just gonna.
I still don't understand.
Well, the easiest way to think about it is if you're a couple and you're making $50,000 a year, and one of you got a raise and the other one got a decrease, you're still making the same $50,000 a year. You're not going to have any more money than you had before. The only difference is it's coming from the funding source is different. Where ideally what you'd want to do is say, okay, to get ends to meet, we really need to make $55,000. We need to make $60,000, whatever that amount of money is. Then you start seeing differences. So that's.
And you lose a lot of kids to homeschool, and that hurts the school district. Is what they've been telling me, that because you don't get that per cost per student.
Right. Anytime you have students open and rolling out or homeschooling, those hurt. You get a certain amount of income from that, but it's hard when you're losing your resident students. And I think on that too, we look at any student who is open and rolled out, and why are they open and rolling out? Is there something we can do to meet their needs? But it's a competitive business. You've got virtual schooling now that kids can do online. You've got homeschooling. There's a lot of options, and and people have different reasons why they move. We don't have many who move because of athletics, but you start getting in some areas, and your open enrollment is based on your athletics, and that gets to be a whole nother thing too. So,
well, you said that there's a teacher shortage nationwide, and so far, thankfully, Shellick's been pretty consistent. What do you think the overall feeling is of teachers right now where we are right now in Wisconsin, not nationally, just Wisconsin? Do they have confidence in being a teacher? The ones that are not the ones that are thinking about going into it, but the ones that are now. Is it okay? The Act 10 thing that's kind of in the past, right? And now we have Evers, and maybe that's going to change. Is there optimism there?
I think there's some optimism. It's really, if you took that out, it's really based on your teaching staff. I think we've got a great staff up here. The people are very committed, and what's great here, and I've had it in different schools I've worked. When you have a school that your own kids are going to, there's a ton of buy-in. And when I look at our staff, I mean, most of the staff have had kids who either are in school or who have been in our school.
Or been through it anyway.
Yeah. So, you know, you always want to ask yourself, am I comfortable putting my own son or daughter in this classroom or coming to the school? Whether you do or not, you always want that answer to be yes. But when it's really in practice, it makes a difference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Car talk.
Okay.
Car talk. What's that?
Yeah. So when you were on last year, and I think we had a chance to talk even before that, you were... I can't remember the car. I should have gone back and listened to the show. What was the car that you were working on? You were restoring a car.
Oh,
yeah, that's an old Fiat X19. So
that's right, because I remember having to look it up because I didn't even know what it looked like.
Yeah.
Is where are you in that project?
Stalled. Yeah,
this referendum thinking, wait, dude, you gotta get the car done.
It has. By the time I get home, there's not a lot left in the tank to do those things. So yeah, that's kind of that, and I gotta sell a couple cars too.
Really? Which ones?
Well, I have an older BMW I need to sell, and that's a nice car.
Where do you take a BMW around here to get that work done?
That's a little tougher. So a lot of the work I try to do here, and then
to
me,
if I bought it, I'd just take it to you to fix it.
Yeah, but really, if I need to get specific dealer work done, it's really the Twin Cities, or else there's a dealer down in Eau Claire, but it's just an independent shop that does it. So,
and are these cars that you have worked on and they're finished, or is it I just got too many cars, I got to get rid of some of them?
The one is just about done. It's just one that it was just getting older and I wanted something different. So that was really it.
How many cars you got?
Well, I've got that. I've got an old turbo bug that I need to.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Goodness.
It's not really old. It's like a 2000. So
no, that's not that old at all.
No, it's not that old.
No.
So,
so why aren't you getting this other car finished? Is it one of those
time.
I kind of don't want to really get it finished because then it's finished?
Well, it's one of those things where it's it's just frustrating.
Oh,
they're not the easiest things to work on. You got to take so much stuff.
Why
apart.
did you pick that car?
I don't know. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
What's the next car? What's one that you've kind of Google searched a little bit, looked or seen really and gone, boy, that'd be really fun to do?
I really haven't. I think I've just kind of sat down and, I mean, I just like sports cars. So, I mean, if I had unlimited money, it'd be kind of fun to, I don't know, a Lotus, something like that. I like the old Esprits from the James Bond movies.
Oh my goodness.
Or an Aston Martin.
Aston Martin, there you go.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
Oof.
But no, my pockets are nowhere near that.
So you do the mechanical work and the body work too?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So where'd you learn this mechanical thing?
A lot of online stuff.
Okay.
And I did it out of necessity because when we first got married, the car would break down and
couldn't afford to take it. And it was like,
okay, we need new brakes. Okay, let's take a look at it. And that was before YouTube. So it was the old Chilton's manuals or whatever.
I remember those big old manuals.
Mm-hmm.
You try to find the right one in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And kids these days with YouTube, they have no idea, right?
Yeah.
No, but we talk about teaching our kids to learn for the future and how to learn. Like anything else, there's so much you can learn on YouTube, but you got to I've seen things too where, if how do you change this bulb or something? And you've got a guy who takes half the car apart to get to a bulb. It's like, that's probably not the best video to watch. And you watch somebody else who does it in 5 minutes. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like doing a Google search. I get 3 million hits, but I need to really find the 2 or 3 that give me the information I want.
I have a Jeep, and I bought it for my brother in the key.
You sold it to you with a big gas guzzler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in the wintertime, I was getting, because I had to let it warm up, I was getting, I think, 3.5 or 4.5 miles a gallon. Now, thankfully, I only drive 6 blocks. But yeah, that kind of killed me. But the ignition, it wouldn't work anymore. So Matt came up and said, "Here, we'll just put in a new, ignition, whatever."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to do that. We literally took my laptop out into the garage. He went and bought it at O'Reilly's, turned on YouTube, and he had it done in 5 minutes. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you did a special tool and then it pulls it out and you stick the new one in, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing.
I don't know why I didn't do it. Matt did it.
Well, you almost get to the point. If anything's too hard, you realize there's probably a tool made for it.
There is.
So,
it's called a mechanic.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. So much is electronic now too.
But look what mechanics go through now with these new vehicles. They're all computer run and generated. It's like, I mean, a computer can cause problems, and it's like, I don't understand these things. basically a brake job anymore. Do you want to tackle a brake job
Right.
on a 2019 car?
Right.
I don't know if I'd want to.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, I work so I don't have to fix cars. That's seriously. Anything else that you wanted to cover that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Well, I went through a lot of things.
We did.
Yeah, I guess yesterday I'm glad as much as I didn't want it to snow, I'm glad it snowed. Otherwise, it was going to look pretty bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that were commenting on Facebook. It's not even snowing.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
know.
supposed to start till noon, and then we thankfully didn't get hit that hard. But it's kind of, oh, come on, snow.
Yeah,
Don't make me look like an idiot.
Yeah. I was feeling pretty stupid around 8:30 in the morning. I'm thinking this is not good.
And how many texts did you get from the kids saying, thanks a lot there?
I just turned my phone off at that point. Yeah.
And parents that have to go to work and take off work to watch their kids now, imagine they do. Oh, that could be bad.
Yeah, and it is hard because
hard for
I get it. I mean, if you
work.
don't have school and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I've got young kids.
Yeah.
And
Even a 2-hour delay
yeah.
causes some
That's
families
actually
some
worse. At least for our family. It's always
probably
worse
could
the
be
2-hour
worse.
delay. Just
Yeah.
either all off or
Yeah.
you're in school.
And I think what we really want to try to avoid, and we ended up having to do it once this year, is getting the kids to school and then saying, oh boy, we got to send
Now we
them
gotta
home.
go home.
Yeah.
Then try to get hold of parents. We don't want kids in home by themselves.
Yeah. That gets to be
Yeah,
that's
'cause if
probably
it's-
the worst
Yeah,
one.
because if it's bad weather, they know in the morning. They're looking for this.
Mhm.
If schools are closed or delayed.
Right.
It must be a little more difficult at the noon hour
Right.
to try to get a hold of people. Certainly you call, you email, you have the stuff, but
Right.
people are probably working at that point and they may not get the call or be able to check
Right.
their phones.
And yesterday was like a prime example. You're looking at it and the forecast keeps dropping down. You're looking out the window. There's nothing there at 5 o'clock, 5:30. There's still nothing, but you're looking at the radar.
Yeah.
Okay, do we chance it? And you just get to a point. It's just not,
not
worth
worth
it
it.
because
And
it may miss you, but if it does come, it's going to be bad.
I feel bad for the
Yeah.
parents that like work in Rice Lake, for instance.
Yeah.
And you call it off at noon or 1. Okay. Then you got to get a hold of them. That's a long drive. And if the
Yeah.
weather's bad, that's even worse for them.
Well, it's their fault for
Yeah.
working in Rice Lake and living here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for
Yeah,
coming
you're
in.
welcome.
Maybe this fall after the projects are done,
Yeah.
maybe swing back in and kind of give us an update.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Very cool. You've been watching DrydenWire Live, a live streaming video podcast presented by DrydenWire.com. For my father, Terry Dryden, I'm Ben Dryden, and we want to thank Mr. David Bridenhagen for stopping by for a chat. And we, of course, thank all of you for watching and supporting DrydenWire. If it's Friday, it's DrydenWire Live. We'll see you next week.